Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak, and this is MotivationU the Podcast. Welcome to MotivationU the Podcast. My name is Bob Ganzak, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors Rooftop Bar inside the Coach's Podcast room here at Spurrier's. Wonderful, wonderful place. And they had their first anniversary 1 week ago today. That 1 year of this place being open. And I got to be here as I was leaving town last week. And it was just a wonderful event. I wish I could have stayed for the entire event. It was incredible to see all of the people and the smiles and the energy and everybody. A great day for Gatorville. Gator Nation was having a lot of fun. This wonderful place is nestled right here in Celebration Point. And Celebration Point, if you have not been here, is growing. It's a wonderful, great food, great atmosphere, stores, people, outdoors, indoors, just incredible. Hotels, office buildings, housing. It's just a great place to come and visit. So next time you're in Gainesville, Florida, please come by Celebration Point. Exit 384 off of I-75 and enjoy yourself here. So today, excited about this program. We're going to talk about leadership. Now, usually we share ideas and thoughts from great leaders that we deem great leaders who live locally. But what are those qualities that make up leadership? What are the things that make people tick? And I want to share a little bit of what Dale Carnegie training does along the lines of leadership. So first of all, a little promotion for our upcoming Dale Carnegie class here in Gainesville. Starting September 13th, we'll be doing another Skills for Success program at Hotel Indigo here in Gainesville. We do have classes coming up that aren't on the schedule yet for Valdosta, Lake City, another in Jacksonville, Tifton, Douglas, Georgia. But right now we're focused on the class starting just in a few weeks, September 13th, Hotel Indigo in Gainesville. So what do you learn about leadership in the Dale Carnegie class? Well, one of the great things about the Skills for Success program is we really focus on 5 areas: building self-confidence, your interpersonal skills, communication skills, leadership, and managing stress and worry. So let's take leadership out of that, okay? Because the word is there. How does the other 4 drivers to success build into leadership? Well, leadership is a lot about self-confidence. And I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about somebody that pounds their own chest. I'm talking about that type of confidence where you can be humble. And people just, it's an aura that they want to follow. So building your self-confidence is a huge part of leadership. People skills. I will tell you, leadership is all about people. If you want to talk about processes, we're talking about management. That is, you manage processes, you lead people. If your interpersonal skills are lacking, and we're going to talk about some of those later on in the program today, but if your interpersonal skills are lacking, your leadership growth is going to be stymied. It's not going to get to where it needs to go. You may have short-term success. Long-term success is not going to be probably going to be yours, because enthusiasm and excitement and great ideas can last for a little while. But that long-term continued growth and success, that pattern taking off, takes people. And if you don't have those people skills, it's going to be a challenge. Communication, both one-on-one and to groups. Warren Buffett said, I think it was in Forbes magazine earlier in the century, that if you want to be successful in the 21st century, you need to be able to communicate to people. You must be able to communicate to people in a group setting. Wow. He didn't say you should or you should try it. You must. You must be able to do that. And in the Dale Carnegie course, you learn that. It's not a public speaking course by any means. We have one of those. Yet, I can't think of a better way to really practice and enhance your ability to speak in front of a group than a Dale Carnegie course. I just can't think of a better way. It's a great way to get coached in a safe environment where you're able to learn that. Now, a couple of the things that we do there, one is we talk about one-on-one communication. How do you interact with somebody? How do you start a conversation and carry a conversation? How do you become a better listener? That's part of that program. We talk about that. We talk about speaking to a group. How do you get your message out? How do you structure your story? How can you get people to take action when you're up in front of them, giving them a talk? What is that magic formula that helps you do that? And then also we talk about smaller groups. What are the changes when you have 3-4 people? Like many of our meetings are 3-4 people now, 5 people, 6, versus 25, 30, or 100. So how do you change amongst that? How do you become effective in all of those scenarios? That's part of what we do in the Dale Carnegie class. And how does that lead to leadership? Well, a big part of leadership is your communication. How do you get your point across? Are people willing to listen to you? What is your leadership style? How do you treat other people in that leadership? And then managing stress and worry in the workplace, at home. Hey, when you walk through the doors of your office or you open up that Zoom meeting from your home office and you're the leader of this group of people, they don't want to know all about the challenges going on in your personal life. And sometimes you don't tell them with your mouth. You might tell them with your attitude. You might tell them with your words or your eyes or your body language or your tone of voice. So how do we learn to manage our stress and worry so that when we are in front of our team, when we are in front of our children, our spouse, our significant other, our friends, that they're not saying, well, this person's dumping everything on me, So managing that stress and worry is extremely important to being a strong leader and being a stronger and better leader. So those are the things that we touch on in the Dale Carnegie Skills for Success class. And I didn't even touch on the fifth driver, which is leadership itself. We spend a good 3 weeks talking and discussing leadership in the 8-week program. So you can go to jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, and where it says Find Courses, click on that, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see the Gainesville class. Hotel Indigo right here at Celebration Point. Just click on there, fill out the form, and they'll notify me. I'll get in touch with you, and we'll put you in that program. And I will be the instructor for that class also. So Dale Carnegie also has a lot of other leadership programs. Dale Carnegie Training, I should say, Dale Carnegie and Associates out of New York, and our franchise, which is out of Jacksonville here in Florida. And I cover from Jacksonville to Tallahassee up to like Tifton, Douglas, Georgia, all the way down to right about here, Gainesville, over to the Gulf Coast, pretty much over to the Atlantic coast also. That whole territory is pretty much what I deal with. So if you're in that area, please reach out. But we have other leadership programs too. 3 that I'll mention. That is our leadership training for managers, which is available in a 7-week or a 3-day format. This 7-week is an awesome program. The 3-day is an awesome program. And leadership training for managers is I love being the instructor in that program. It is so much fun to watch the things that happen in that class. And you can find that online. You can find that in person too. So that's leadership training for managers. Another one is develop your leadership potential. Stop doing and start leading. That's one of our newer programs the last couple of years. Another great leadership program available in an 8-week or 3-day program. You would absolutely love that. To me, that's kind of like a new leaders program. Although if you want to shift some of your, a lot of us get promoted from a role where you're working in this department, and all of a sudden they make you the leader of the department. And for many of us, it's a tough thing to do to stop doing what you were doing and start leading the team. I found that very difficult when I first went from being a sales rep in a radio station to being their local sales manager. All of a sudden, I had to relinquish my account list, my interactions with people, and I had to focus on 8 people rather than on myself. And that was difficult to do, and that transition process was pretty tough. So that's what develop your leadership potential, stop doing and start leading is mainly about. The third one that I had mentioned was leadership training for results. Unleash the talent in others. So that's 8-week or 3 days also. Again, either online or in person. You can find those through jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. Go and search some of those. If we don't have it available in our area, you're able to find it in other areas also. So what's important to me is that you get the training and your growth starts. But leadership training for results, unleash the talent in others, is really how do you really help people grow? I mean, really help them grow. And that's a huge part of that. Plus, there's an entire long laundry list of leadership workshops and seminars and other programs that you can find online in our catalog. I've shared this with people over the last couple of weeks that it's kind of like the Cheesecake Factory menu, It's like really thick, and everything there is just absolutely awesome. You just don't know what to choose. And so it's good to have a great waiter or waitress at the Cheesecake Factory that can kind of help you, go through the menu. Because if you were going to, I joked the other day that they should make the menu available on Audible for the Cheesecake Factory because there's so many items. You could listen to it on your way there and then kind of make a decision when you get there. The Dale Carnegie catalog is kind of like that. So don't be afraid to reach out to myself to help you through that. I was doing that online with a lady the other day where we were kind of looking at some of the things that she was looking at. I was able to take her to some key workshops and seminars that would help her out. So today, one of the things that I wanted to do was just share one of those workshops. Now, this is a workshop that you would be interactive with, but we'll go through it, and I'll show you some of the content that is in one of our workshops. So this is about the 4 leadership styles, okay? 4 leadership styles that have been identified. Those 4 styles are visionary, a facilitator, achiever, and analyzer. So that person that has great vision, that has creative ideas, and then you have the facilitator, the one that brings everybody together and is making sure that we're all having a good time and everybody's needs are being met. Then the achiever, that's that hard driver, that person that is really bottom line oriented and hey, I'm on this train, I'm moving fast, jump on or jump off, right? That type of individual. And then the analyzer, that's your accountant, the engineer, the person that deals not in personalities. They really don't care about what the warmth or the coldness of the room as far as people are concerned. All they're dealing with is facts. Facts, figures, let's talk about it. So let's talk about some of those. So the visionary, I think of people like Henry Ford, a visionary, maybe Stephen Jobs, a visionary. These people are high energy individuals. They have great ideas and wonderful experiences. They love sharing their opinion with others. And they're very trusted and respected. I mean, think of Henry Ford. Very, always has been. And they're big picture thinking individuals. These people their style is, they're comfortable with creative thinking. They love brainstorming ideas and asking those what if questions. They're very intuitive in their decision making, and they would rather prefer to base their action plans on people and creative ideas and opinions over facts and figures and overanalyzing things. And they enjoy that fast-paced environment. They're very emotional discussions and energetic people. Have you ever met anybody like that? Have you been around leaders like that? So one of the things that this workshop really does is it helps you identify what your styles are so you can cross-pollinate with other leaders. So when you identify yours and you're able to identify others, then you can help work more in unison with that person rather than butting heads. So with a visionary, when they're out of their comfort zone, when they're out of that area that they need to be in, that's when they're dealing with details and statistics, the minutia, of life. If things have become monotonous or too serious of a focus, that puts them out of their comfort zone. If people are narrow-minded, remember they're broad visionaries. If people are narrow-minded, that'll take them out of their comfort zone. Or if they're shut down, if somebody shuts them down, says, hey, quiet up, we're not interested in hearing from you, that will take them out of their comfort zone. So that's a visionary. Let's go to the achiever. So the achiever is somebody like Steve Ballmer, the gentleman that took over from Bill Gates at Microsoft when Bill Gates retired. Stephen Ballmer, he's kind of that achiever. Their way of doing business is they like to get right to business. They use their time effectively. They're very logical and specific, and they focus on results. Very professional conduct. Like I said, they're results driven, and they're most comfortable in a direct, no nonsense approach to decision making and their interpersonal relationships. They view situations as challenges, and they need to be resolved. So everything's a challenge that needs to be resolved, and they want to get things done quickly, and it's as direct as possible. They're very demanding of themselves, which gives them high expectations for others. So that's what those individuals, those are those qualities. They, like I said, Stephen Ballmer was that type of a person. Now, he has had some success, and he's really missed out on some things too. I was doing some studying on him, very interesting. When they get out of their comfort zone, it's when they're wasting time. If time is being wasted, that takes them out of their comfort zone. If they get off point, like I do very often, I'll start going down one path and then something will bring me to another one, and I gotta try to get back to it. That I'm in my comfort zone at that time, so I'm really not the achiever type of individual. But the achiever, when they stray off point, takes them out of their comfort zone. If you get too personal with them, if you're having a conversation and you start asking some intensely personal questions, that will get them out of their comfort zone. They don't want vagueness. They need to stay strictly to the rules there. And if they're asked to speculate on something, hey, give me your opinion on this, not good for them. They're not strong in their comfort zone from that standpoint. So that's something that you really want to take a look at. So just kind of let's talk about the first two that we already discussed. There's 4 key leadership styles that we've identified: the visionary, the achiever, the facilitator, and the analyzer. We've talked about the visionary. That is the Henry Ford type of person. High energy, ideas, experiences, sharing opinions, trusted, respected, big picture thinking. They don't want to be into too serious of a focus. They don't like to be shut down. That takes them out of their comfort zone. And then we have the achiever. When they're in their zone, they like to get right to the business at hand. Use time effectively, logical, specific, focus on results, professional conduct. I mean, they are bottom line oriented. Boom, 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 here we go. Right there. Where they get out of their thing is if you're wasting their time. So if you have a meeting with somebody that's an achiever, get right to the point. All right? If you're going to communicate with somebody like that, get right to the point. Here's the reason I'm here. Here's what I need to know. They'll respect that. Whereas if you do that with a facilitator, they'll probably kick you out or shut you down. Same on the other hand. If you walk into an achiever and you want to shoot, the bull with them, so to speak, not going to work. Get down to the facts. Don't stray off point. Get right to it. Hey, what goes on in my family isn't important to you. I want to deal with what's going on here. We're working on this project. That's what's important. If you're not specific in thoughts and ideas with that achiever, boom, you're out of line. You're out of line. So don't be vague with them, and don't ask them to speculate. They know that this many sales calls will bring me this kind of results, and I don't want you to say what happens if. That's not what I'm into. I want to do this, my team's going to do this, and this is what the results are going to be. Period. So those are the two areas. Again, we're going to tackle right after the break, we're going to tackle the last two, the facilitator and the analyzer. If you have a question or a comment, please just put it right below in the box as a comment here on Facebook, and Evan will get the question to me, and I'll try to get you an answer. If I don't, I'll get the answer and I'll bring it to you next week. So always trying to help you do that. The other thing is we're available on a plethora of podcast platforms. I like to tell people, where do you get your podcast at? We're there. All right. Wherever you're looking, we're there. We're at YouTube. We're on Facebook. Find us. Apple Podcasts, there too. Find us. Apple. I don't promote them, I wish I did. I use their products. iPhone, iPad, different products. I love the iPad. I would do that. I also bought a Remarkable 2 notepad taker. Awesome tool. I haven't figured out how to use them directly with each other. I like this a lot for taking notes. When I'm meeting with a client or on a Zoom call, I'll have this near me because a lot of times I'm using my iPad to research things while I'm on a Zoom call on my computer. So having all of those things with me is vitally, and I can download these notes or things that I take from my iPad to my Remarkable 2. So try to use all of those things, but I'm not promoting any of those products. I'm just sharing with you those are the tools I use, because this is a tool of mine also. A good cup of coffee in the morning, and Spurrier's Gridiron Grill has absolutely some of the best coffee. So when we come back from break, we will talk about the last two leadership styles, and then we'll also get into some of the principles from Dale Carnegie that can help you reach across the zones when you're looking at those different styles. So my name is Bob Ganzak, and this is MotivationU the Podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Welcome back to MotivationU the Podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill right here at Celebration Point. Inside the Coach's Podcast Room, this wonderful restaurant, museum, fun place to be. Just absolutely, people come from all over too. It's not just the Alachua County or Marion County or Columbia County. I had some friends of mine up in Georgia that drove down, I think this past weekend, and had dinner and just sent me a note on Facebook and said, what an incredible meal and the atmosphere. So it's absolutely a great place to be. And Celebration Point, I love it. Svein Dirkelbatten and his team at Viking, they just absolutely have created a gem here along I-75 in Alachua County, Gainesville, Florida. And what they're building, to come and see the growth, it's just absolutely wonderful to see. Speaking of growth, I had a great honor today before we started the podcast. One of the students that I've had in my program a couple of times is a young man that you've met. He's been on my podcast twice. Somebody just that I totally admire, and that's Jose Raven. And Jose brought his mom and dad here today for me to meet them. They're in town from Venezuela, and I had the opportunity to meet his mom and dad. Just such wonderful people. And it's one of those blessings that you get to do. We are going to have them on the podcast coming up here in a couple of weeks. And what we're going to do is Jose will be here in the studio with me. And then we'll have his mom and dad, who are business owners in Caracas, Venezuela. They own a furniture store. It's called New, N-E-W. And we'll have them on from Venezuela, and Jose and myself here, and we'll talk about some of the differences in business practices in Latin America, and why they moved from one side of the country to the other, and what the business atmosphere is like in Venezuela right now. So we'll have some fun with that one, and enjoy. Definitely enjoy having Jose and his family on the program. So today we've been talking about leadership. We talked about the Skills for Success program, which is coming up here September 13th at Hotel Indigo in Gainesville. We'll have some coming up on the website within the next couple of days. I was talking to Matt Thompson the other day. I think he's got one that will be scheduled for late. Don't hold me to this, but in Jacksonville it might be September 22nd. Could be the next start date in Jacksonville, which would be a Thursday night, and that will be at the World Financial Building on Phillips Highway in Jacksonville. That's where we hold our programs there, thanks to Bill Barnett and his team, who allows us to use their wonderful facility there. So we have some really good things coming up. I'm working with the mayor of Valdosta, Scott Matheson, and Michael Smith, who's the head of the United Way there, about developing a new class in Valdosta. And Joey O'Hearn, I'm meeting with some of the people in Lake City to start developing a class there for Columbia County. So many things going on, constantly new ideas. And so sometimes I've got to go to the website just to know what I've got going on in my life. So let's get back into leadership. We talked about the 4 leadership styles, which were, of course, a visionary, an achiever, a facilitator, and an analyzer. Well, we touched on the visionary and the achiever already, and now we're going to get to the facilitator. Now, people in the facilitator leadership style, they value relationships, dedication and loyalty. That's really important to them. They're motivated by a cooperative and supportive work environment that values teamwork. And they really love encouragement and assistance and people helping them. They prefer that person-centered style over strictly fact-based, and they get down to they don't like that get down to business approach. They like to, maybe they're full of themselves. Prior to running for president, maybe that would be like a Donald Trump type things where they've very flamboyant and that type of an individual, and they don't respond really well when they're being rushed or threatened. So they've got a little bit of the achiever in them, and they've got a little bit of the visionary in them too. So patience, helpfulness, they're dependable, that cooperative work environment. They love asking questions. They're going to ask a ton of questions. That's kind of the facilitator. They get kind of out of their comfort zone when there's unnecessary confrontation. When they're like, hey, I need a decision now. They don't like to be hurried, okay? And if you come to them with a strict agenda, we must adhere to this, which also goes back to that Donald Trump thing. There's no straight lines. Everything is a discussion and a massage. You're kind of moving things around. They don't like those strict agendas. And if there's an absence of positive encouragement, if they're not getting patted on the back, that puts them out of their comfort zone. And if you have disloyal or undermining behavior within the team, that's totally. So they're going to get rid of those individuals quickly. All right, those are the things that take them out of their comfort zone. So think about that. That facilitator. It's pretty interesting. Dynamic there. So we've gone through the visionary, the achiever, and the facilitator. And all three of those, two of the three, the facilitator and the achiever, are big on interpersonal skills. I should say the visionary and the facilitator are really big on interpersonal skills, whereas the achiever is more bottom line oriented, yet they do understand that they get to that point through people. So, it's kind of an interesting way. I love to look at different individuals and what their leadership style is and how they go about their workday. So the last one is an analyzer. All right, an analyzer. Individuals in the analyzer leadership style are very value-oriented and systematic. I mean, they value that systematic, formal approach, data, numbers, graphs. If you were, to look at the four and put them in like online things, things that you think about, this is the Excel page. The analyzer is the Excel page, whereas, the facilitator is maybe Facebook. All right. And I can't come up with the one for the achiever right off the top of my mind. Maybe it's the balance sheet, or it's the final scores from the weekend sports. That's all they're interested in, is who won and who lost. They're not as interested in how the game was played, Whereas the visionary, that's the person that is, has got all the buttons and bells and is creating things on some software program, if that helps you at all for that. So the analyzer is more at ease with facts, figures, They're not into what your emotions are or what your opinion is. Just give me the facts. Relationships are only a means to the end in this leadership style. I don't like people. I don't like to be around people, but I understand I have to be around people. They tend to be reserved, very professional, but reserved, and they're not into, any warmth or expressive. So those are, kind of people that, a nice handshake, eye contact. That's about it. All right. The analyzer, if I was to pick somebody as an analyzer, I would say maybe a Bill Gates type guy. All right. Whenever you listen to Bill Gates talk, it's pretty buttoned up. It's pretty much just the facts. To be more general, an accountant or an engineer, that type of person, right? Where it's just the facts. Come on, give me the facts. They're very logical in their decision making. They're only dealing with facts. Here's what the data shows me. Therefore, this is what the end results are. Period. Very calm under pressure because there's no emotion involved. We either have the money or we don't. We either have the numbers or we don't. If we don't have it, I can show you what the data shows me of why we don't have it. Period. Well, there's no reason to get upset about it. It's just reading a spreadsheet. The practicality is a big part of their life. They're very thorough, and they have very thorough and careful preparation. They're going to make sure, maybe even to the point of you might think they're procrastinating, yet they want to, like, I'm a Libra, so I like to balance the scales. They're not going to balance the scales. They're going to build up all of the data they possibly can so that the data is going to win, right? So that's the way they are, that thorough preparation. And as I said, data-based and not opinion-based evidence at all. It's always data. Wonderful. You lead with your opinion with them, you're probably going to get shut down or they're going to turn off their listening skills. Does that make sense? I'm sure you get me on this individual. What gets them out of their comfort zone are aggressive tactics. People that come in flamboyant and boisterous and all over you and in your face. Hey, don't bring that here. That's not the way to approach that person. So any aggressive tactics are going to take them out of their comfort zone. If somebody is careless, if they're not crossing their T's and dotting their I's exactly how they are, that's going to bother the analyzer. If you give them inconsistent behavior, let's say you work for an analyzer and you give them inconsistent behavior and performance, that's going to take them out. I'm kind of generalizing here, yet that individual would rather have somebody be just above mediocrity and be consistent, and you can last a long time with them because they know what they're going to get out of you. Got that idea? So, none of us really like mediocrity, but if you're just slightly, even if you were just a mediocre employee, as long as you were consistent and they knew what they were getting out of you on a daily basis, that analyzer will be able to work you into their team because he can count on you or she can count on you. They're able to count on you because you're consistent. So inconsistent behavior or performance takes them out of their comfort zone. Somebody that would take an unnecessary risk. They're data-driven, so every time a project that you're working on, there's not a huge risk. When you take a huge risk that's straying away from data, that's going to make them extremely nervous. And if the office, let's say if they walk into your office and it looks very disorganized and your work habits are poor, that's going to take them out of their comfort zone. So that kind of gives you an idea. So you have the analyzer, the facilitator, the visionary, and that creative visionary, achiever, facilitator, and analyzer. Those are the four different areas. Now, so how do you work with these individuals if that's not you? All right, how do you reach across zones? So imagine it in a square where you have these 4 quadrants. How do you cross-reference those zones? Well, one of the things is with all 4 is if you focus on the outcomes. That's how you can reach across the zone and adjust your expectations of others. So many times as leaders, especially if you're working on a team and you're running a project and this department is running a project and that department is running a project, you may have 3 different leadership styles. Your boss, or the CEO of the company, is very, very, very interested in all of you succeeding. You can't count on that other person changing. So you've got to shift your way of thinking. So adjust your expectations of others. Okay? So you want to focus on outcomes. You want to adjust your expectations of others. That's a big key. That's really important. And then go the extra mile. Do more than what is expected. No matter who you are, no matter which area you're in, go that extra mile. One of the things that I always encourage people to do, especially when they're working in environments that are not conducive to their own thought process. Let's say you're a visionary and you're working with an analyzer. Those are pretty much opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Think through your statements before speaking. Really take the time to think through what you're going to say. If you're an analyzer, understand that if you just are spewing nothing but data and facts, that visionary may not even hear what you're saying. And if you're a visionary and you're talking in these broad strokes with bright colors and paintbrushes, that's probably not going to stick with the analyzer. They've got a mechanical pen or pencil, and they're writing on a white sheet of paper with straight lines and numbers. If that draws a picture for you. All right? So if you're a visionary where you're painting your words with bright colors, it's not going to help connect with that visionary. You might impress yourself, but you're not going to impress them. So think through your statements before speaking, and then concentrate on the strengths in others. Again, that comes from self-discipline and confidence. Why the Skills for Success Dale Carnegie class is so important to build your confidence. Because if you're a facilitator and you're working with an achiever, it takes a lot of confidence to be able to concentrate only on the strengths of the others. And where you love the interaction with other people, that achiever is only interested in the bottom line. And if you're not able to put yourself into that role and understand that, then that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But when you can concentrate on the strengths that is within other people and really identify that and appreciate that and build some enthusiasm around that, that can really, really be a strength in reaching across the zones. And there are certain principles. Mr. Carnegie, he didn't come up with the principles that he shared with us. When you read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right in the foreword, he talks about that, about what the interactions were and how many people got involved to help write that book, and the research that was done, in the incredible leaders that he talked to, the Charles Schwabs, Andrew Carnegies, the Roosevelts, and the Rockefellers. Just a plethora of people, plus a lot of just people like you and me. We were a part of that book. And so those principles are there that are timed and true. They're not his thought processes. Many of the ideas and thoughts that go into them are, yet these things came from experience and observing people and having these individuals in his programs. So if you want to look at how to understand other comfort zones, other people's comfort zones, those other leadership areas, one of the things, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Very simply, don't be critical of somebody else because they're not like you. And part of that is sometimes people think, well, I didn't complain about it. I didn't criticize them. But your thoughts, that condemning inside of you is going to shift the way your body focuses to that individual. So don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Just because they're different than you, that's okay. Appreciate the difference. Appreciate your difference and your qualities. Appreciate their difference and their qualities. And learn to work together in that area. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. What would happen if you thought like that? Would you think differently? Would you act differently? Would you be different? It's always an interesting thing to look at, really. So that's one of Principle 17 in the Skills for Success class, Dale Carnegie. Try to see things honestly from the other person's point of view. Try to see things honestly. And that just doesn't mean to kind of put yourself in their shoes. I mean, that's like to live that world. How are you going to do it? And the trying to is not that I'm going to make an attempt. It's really, I'm going to do it. Over the years, kind of the phraseology in nearly 100 years or 90 years since that book was written, the meaning of that phrase has kind of shifted a little bit. So when you try to do things, back then it was you're going to do it. Yeah, you're going to do that. So you're going to really see things from that person's other point of view and live that. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. It might be difficult with the analyzer because they're not very boisterous. It might be difficult with the visionary because you get them off on a tangent. You might not ever get the conversation back to where it originally was from. Yet when you really let them do a great deal of the talking, then you're able to really understand where they're coming from. A couple of principles that would help you from the stress book, from How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, is to cooperate with the inevitable. Look, I'm going into a meeting with two different personality leadership styles, and we're working to work on this project. Things are going to happen. I'm going to have to just take a step back, breathe when they do. If anybody's going to cause a challenge here, I'm not going to be that person, which means that if there's 3 of us in there, at least a third of us are going to make sure that this doesn't get out of hand. Cooperate with the inevitable. It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Here's how I'm going to react when it does happen. And then create happiness for others. It doesn't matter if you're an analyzer. When you walk out of that meeting, give a fist bump to that visionary. Thank them for the fact that they've created these pictures that you get to put into graphs and numbers and really do your thing with their visionary. So create happiness for others. It's a vitally important thing to do. So, when we focus on outcomes, we have a choice to make with dealing with these different leadership styles. We can either dwell on the difference in our styles, or we can focus on the results that we're going to come up with from the team group putting together. We all have to work together to achieve this. So that's where that focusing on the outcomes. And when you adjust your expectations of other people, be honest about your expectations of the other person. Are you expecting too much or too little out of them? Ask yourself, truly, what's better? What will be best for the situation? So adjust your expectations. Don't think too lowly of somebody, and don't think too highly of somebody. Just make sure that you're standing within that perception area. Go the extra mile. If you're waiting for the other person to change, forget it. Take the initiative. Make the shift in your own style in order to help facilitate the meeting, okay, to get things moving forward. Don't wait for that other person to bridge the gap. You bridge the gap. You step forward and say, hey, here's where we're going to go. And I mentioned to you to think through your statements before speaking. Sometimes we get caught off guard by something that somebody does. Sometimes we may have had some expectations and wow, we're caught off guard. Before you speak, when you're caught off guard, before you speak, really think about what you're going to say. It really helps us express our ideas in a way that will be more agreeable. So work on that. And then, of course, the last one, concentrate on the strength of others. Some of us hesitate to give appreciation. Some of us don't know how to give other people appreciation, especially when we're focusing on ourselves or the differences that we have with other people in this realm. So you really have to concentrate and focus on the strengths of others. You want to ask yourself, can you really look for somebody else's strengths? You've got to do that. Make it a personal challenge to express more appreciation, more honesty, and more sincereness to that other person. And I don't mean to do it in a manipulative way. That's never the content. I've been reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I kind of get the feeling listening to the book at the beginning that there are some like little pot shots taken at how to win friends and influence people in the beginning of that book. I love the book, by the way. Really love it. But where they talk about manipulative ways, one of the things that Mr. Carnegie was always about was sincerity, integrity, honesty. When I think of the word integrity, I think of his face. That's where I'm thinking on that. So glad you were able to share a little time with me. I hope you watch this over and over and over again. Pick up on some of the leadership styles. It's been a great hour just chatting about leadership, and we'll have a guest here next week to talk about some of the people that put these leadership styles into effect. So, coming to you live from here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point, this lovely, wonderful restaurant. My name is Bob Ganzak. For my wonderful producer, Evan Miller, and my guest last week on the show, this is MotivationU the Podcast.